Welcome back to the Stephen Knight Show. Adam, how's it going? How's DC weather?
It's going great, Stevie. Steven, DC weather was really hot past 2 days, but now we're
Yeah.
back into the 60s because the
Wow.
rain came and it's gotten chilly again. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was great. It was super hot, which is fine. I'll take again, as I say, I'll take 90-degree days over 30-degree days any day of the week. So yeah, it was really nice.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll let y'all take away movie views.
Sure thing. So I saw a movie and I started watching a couple other things, but I'll start with the movie. And this one was the latest release on Disney Plus, Chippendale Rescue Rangers. And this movie is kind of a callback to, I don't know if you either of you remember watching that cartoon as a kid growing up. It was, every afternoon at ABC, I'm sure, about just Chippendale, the chipmunks from the Disney kind of era, and they solve mysteries and they have like adventures and things like that. So since everything in the 90s is back, they decided to bring a movie back, and it's a mix of live action, computer animation, and traditional animation. So it's a very interesting film. If you see any of the trailers, Chip is the 2D animated that you remember from the 90s, and Dale is now computer generated, and they interact in this real world. And it's a story about how they made Chippendale's Rescue Rangers. So it's a little bit of meta and what's happening now and 20, 30 years later. Overall, I was kind of disappointed. This movie was definitely a film that was looking to throw in as many references as they can. And by that, I mean, they had that brief period when they had a computer animated Sonic the Hedgehog for the movie a few years ago, and there was so much fan backlash that it looked bad that they changed the way he looked. Well, this old ugly Sonic's in it. A lot of Disney characters, a lot of other characters, South Park characters, they're just throwing in so many references that it kind of gets muddled by a mediocre story. And it's a little weird to watch that kind of live action computer animation and 2D animation in it. But it's there. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't recommend it. It wasn't like the worst movie I've seen. Andy Samberg voices Dale, John Mulaney voices Chip. So you got a lot of celebrity voices, and not just them in the movie. And again, it's all references for like an hour and a half. So if you're looking for something to watch, you definitely avoid this one. The next thing I saw, speaking of 90s, is Kids in the Hall. And this, I don't know if either of you remember this, the comedian sketch comedy group from the late 80s, early 90s. Did a lot of programs. They were kind of the weirder version of SNL, and they had a bunch of crazy little weird skits. A lot of them came to do other things after the series. Well, it's back, and season 1 just came out. It's on Amazon Prime, and they kind of reanimated all the characters in the sense that they're all back. The original cast is back. They're a lot older, and they're still doing weird stuff. I'm a couple episodes in. It's exactly what you expect from Kids in the Hall from the 90s. So if you're looking for that nostalgic kickback, it's weird. It's got some zaniness. They really they really fell back into their characters, and I look forward to kind of continue watching the series. As it's all on Amazon Prime. So that was something I would recommend. Again, not for the kids. This one is the opposite. This is definitely some crazy stuff, but worth checking out. And the final thing I saw is a new AMC show, which is actually a British show called The Ipcress File. And it's based on a movie, which I think was based on a novel from the 60s. And it's a Cold War spy thriller with a British spy agency in 1963. And they're having to locate a missing person in Berlin during the height of the Cold War. So far I've only seen one episode, but it's if you know AMC, they do the dramas, Breaking Bad, things like that, Mad Men, and this one follows kind of that mold where you're going to get a little bit of drama, you're going to get kind of the characters, get a little bit of intrigue, very dialogue heavy scenes and things like that. But so far it's been a fun watch, and it's a nice little change up. I think we had a lot of those like Cold War style movies so long ago, and just kind of having that going back into that world of the early 60s and the whole espionage theme is a fun watch. So I look forward to continue watching that as well. And that's pretty much it for me.
Nice, nice. I only saw one film. It's called The Northman, starring Alexander Skarsgård, Anna Taylor Joy, Bjork, Nicole Kidman, Ethan Hawke, and William Dafoe. You heard the cast. These are some heavy hitters. I found out that this film was produced by Alexander Skarsgård, which I wasn't surprised because of the subject matter. He has an affection for Viking mythology. And if you paid attention to him when he fell on most people's eyes in this country, was in True Blood. In True Blood, he played a vampire who was basically a Viking before he became a vampire. You have to check out the backstory to Eric Northman, the vampire, and his Viking lineage. It's kind of similar to this movie. I do believe that he's a lover of the genre, so therefore, I would trust that he would deliver a solid piece of art, and he delivered. They're speaking in the old tongue. The costuming is great. The cinematography is great. There's a mixture of a witchcraft and sorcery in the storyline. I thought it was perfect. It was over a little over 2 hours. I wasn't mad because it's an epic story, and it's a story that's been told over and over again about the classic Viking monarchy, revenge. You killed my father, I will kill you, and then I'll kill your offspring. You know, it's all that, but it's very hyper uber masculine with all the Viking rhetoric and the bestiality, not bestiality, but beastie male energy that's happening. It's very much that. It kind of reminds me of, remember Braveheart from Mel Gibson?
Mm-hmm.
How just uber masculine that movie was, and all about war, fighting, and blood, and yeah, that's this movie. And
Nice.
the fighting scenes are awesome. I was always a fan of these kind of stories, so I was right at home. I hope he continues to make more movies. Not necessarily like this, but I think that he knows how to put off a good film.
Nice. Yeah, it
I hope,
looks very good. I almost watched that earlier today, but
yeah,
then I decided
it's worth the watch.
perfect.
Speaking of Alexander Skarsgård, if you're watching Atlanta, you will know that he's in the latest episode of Atlanta. Now, he's playing himself, but it's a very weird, odd, crazy version of himself. I'm beginning to respect him more as an actor and an artist in general, just simply because he has no boundaries. He will play and do anything. If you haven't started watching Atlanta yet, please start watching it. It's very unlike the first season because they're in Europe, and it's not just about the core group.
Mm-hmm.
They're spreading out and they're telling different stories. So definitely check it out. It's turning more into like a Outer Limits or a Twilight Zone situation. Like every episode is a new story of
Yeah,
something
nice.
else. Yeah. So definitely check it out. Steven, I know you're watching The First Lady. Can I tell you that I know that Viola Davis is producing this. Yeah, Viola Davis, you're awesome. Yay. Michelle Pfeiffer is killing the game. Her playing Betty Ford, she's killing it.
Yes.
Michelle Pfeiffer,
Yes.
kudos to.
Yes. Yes. I agree. I agree.
Yeah. Ozark ended. You know, we're finally done with Ozark. So I'm not going to talk about it, but wow.
Worth it.
It's worth it, but some people may be upset because some people like to be hand-fed a story.
Mm,
The way that they leave it is kind of sort of like The Sopranos, but they give you more meat on the bone with Ozark when they end it.
nice.
And it's like, whoa. But there's a whole nother thought process that you have to have about what could possibly be next. There is no next, but your mind goes.
Yeah.
Uh, Better Call Saul, this is the last season. They're ramping up. You're beginning to figure out how Jimmy McGill and Saul Goodman end.
Yeah.
Begin for that matter.
Yeah, the end of Jimmy and the beginning of Saul, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely check that out. I thought that this show has been awesome from its inception. Off of Breaking Bad, it's like one of the better shows on TV.
Yep.
So definitely check that out. And the movie that I'm looking forward to, because I know Steven's going to ask, is Top Gun. I want to check it out. Tom Cruise doesn't really do bad films, so I'm gonna check it out.
It's getting really high praise. People have seen it already.
I mean, you figured the last one was made how many years ago?
Before I was born, so.
Yeah. And people have been waiting for this film forever. They've been waiting for a sequel. They wanted to do a sequel way back then when, Tom was younger and all the other people that were starring with him were younger, so they could do it all again. But I like the fact that he liked the film enough to acquire some of the rights and, get in the producer seat to tell the story the way he thinks that it should be told for the sequel. I appreciate that. That means he's taking ownership. You've heard some of the fights, some of the arguments that he's had online with the staff as things weren't going right.
Oh, yeah.
And screaming. Yeah, because he wants things perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward.
Yeah. Well, I watched the movie. I had gone out to eat last Thursday and I got home. I was like, there's nothing on TV to watch. So I went on Amazon Prime and I saw this movie on there called The Violent Heart. Mary J. Blige is in that movie. She does a really good job. She plays the mother. So it starts off, this young boy, he witnesses his sister being murdered. And so then they automatically fast forward to 15 years later. So he's 24 years old, working as a mechanic. And this young 18-year-old, she comes to get her car fixed, her dad's car fixed. And they end up talking, and she asked him for a ride to her school where her dad taught. So that starts their, I guess, romance. Well, I was wondering, like, when I was watching, like, where is this movie going? You know what I mean? Because it's just random that then now they're together, and then she goes from out of town. It's just like, where is this movie going? Oh my gosh. I don't want to tell the ending, but it is, their families are intertwined, and it'll be interesting. They did a great way of showing it, but the ending is just crazy. The ending is, I didn't expect the ending to happen the way it did, but it's definitely a good movie. And again, Mary J. Blige does a really good job as the mom. But yeah, I recommend the movie. Huh?
What's the name of it again?
It's called The Violent Heart, and it came out last year apparently.
Okay.
But yeah, so check that out. And then of course the same old First Ladies, Real Housewives of Atlanta is back on. Just a bunch of chaos and drama. But so there's this couple on there, Drew is her name, and her husband's, I can't remember his name. But so there are some allegations about him. There have been allegations about him since they've been on the show, about him cheating. Like one weekend he went away to Florida and she didn't know where he was and all that kind of stuff. Well, they're in therapy, and she's been clapping back at people online for commenting on her marriage because they're dogging him because he treats her horribly. And so last night's episode just fed into it again. They said she's still arguing for this man. I mean, it's like she must like this treatment. I don't know. Some people, I hate to ever talk, predicting what's gonna happen in one's relationship, but I would not be surprised they don't make it. I mean, like, make it within the next 5 years. I would not be surprised. But anyway. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I know you talked about Top Gun. Anything else?
No. Bob's Burgers movie. I'll see that. That comes out the same weekend for Top Gun. So I guess it fields two audiences: the how do I say this? The wise wisdom crowd and the youth. So
did you say they have that movie coming out? It's a bio on Elvis.
Yeah, the Baz Luhrmann who Moulin Rouge, Romeo and Juliet, and all that stuff. Yeah, the trailer sounds interesting. It just looks like it's going to be a really long movie, and that's kind of deterred me from it a little bit.
Well, his daughter, Lisa Marie Presley, she tweeted about it, and she said that this is probably the best depiction of her father that she's ever seen. And this is something that she's proud that she can show her kids and one day grandkids this movie about her father. And she said if this movie doesn't win an Oscar, then they got something wrong. So that's good when the child of the person, they're really, because a lot of times they don't like the source. You know what I mean?
Not necessarily, because there are some things about that man that weren't really pretty.
Yeah.
And it depends on if they tell the truth. And if she's loving it, I'm kind of betting that they're not really telling the truth.
She said it was the most honest, and it was done in a way.
We'll see.
Yeah, we will see. Yeah. And they also wrapped up the movie on Whitney Houston. Comes out later this year. People are let that woman rest. But it's supposed to be the people that did Rhapsody, so it has like a big backing, and the families involved. So you'll see. All right, guys. Well, thank you as always for letting us know what to spend our time and money on and what not to. And have a great rest of your week.
All right. See ya.
All right, right back after this.
See ya.